Hi, very good morning. I'm Dr. Janak Patel, MD, General Physician. All my video lectures are mainly for educative purpose. This is also one of the lecture which will be very helpful to you in your everyday practice. When you start doing your private practice, if you identify these patients early, you will be able to prevent mortality because this has got a very high mortality. So we are going to discuss regarding before a respiratory failure takes place and person goes into respiratory arrest. There is a condition or there is a stage what we call is a respiratory distress. So if you clinically identify a person is in a distress, you will be able to prevent respiratory failure. This is also very frequently asked as a short note. Very commonly it will be asked in your oral also. So today we are going to discuss regarding respiratory distress. Very easily identifiable in children as well as in adult. The person will have an increased respiratory effort. In children, you might see a sternal retraction. Child will be gasping. There will be cyanosis. There will be diaphoresis. And then person will end up with what we call as a respiratory failure. We'll be discussing under heading definition, introduction, etiology, clinical features, investigations, treatment and complications. A simple most definition of respiratory distress means increased respiratory effort, where tachypnea, that is respiratory rate, is increased and there is an increased work by using accessory muscle of respiration, and by doing this too there is an increase in minute ventilation. This is what is described as respiratory distress. If not diagnosed early, not treated early, it will end into respiratory failure. Hence, detection of a respiratory distress in a very early stage is of utmost importance. Respiratory distress can be due to many conditions like sepsis, heart failure, metabolic acidosis, where you can have a severe dehydration, or there may be a toxic ingestion of a toxic substance, or there may be a primary pulmonary problem, which may be because of a respiratory disorders like lobar pneumonia, extensive bilateral pneumonia, tension pneumothorax, etc. Massive pulmonary embolism, all that can end up with respiratory distress. So, as far as etiology in respiratory system is concerned, massive pulmonary embolism, COPD, but good number of time acute exacerbation of COPD secondary due to either respiratory infection or on exposure to pollutants or again re-smoking or excessive smoking. Severe bronchial asthma going into status asthmaticus, pneumonia, pneumothorax, etc. Now there will be some condition which can precipitate apart from respiratory disorders, and this can be without respiratory involvement like severe anemia, carbon monoxide poisoning, pregnancy, renal failure, liver failure. And as far as cardiovascular system is concerned, which can end up with respiratory distress, severe congestive heart failure, acute pulmonary edema, acute coronary syndrome, cardiac tamponade, and acute valvular insufficiency, particularly AR, MR, and TR. These are the three common regurgitation problems can end up with acute respiratory distress syndrome because they will end up with congestive heart failure. So for recognition of respiratory distress, there are certain things which are very peculiar. We call as typical symptoms and signs like tachypnea, nasal flaring, retraction, particularly intercostal retraction, sternal retraction in children, suprasternal notch retraction, etc. Grunting sound again more common in children. Seesaw breathing is again more common in children. Head bobbing is also very common in children. Stress response that we call diaphoresis, and then person will end up with respiratory failure. We'll be going through all this one by one. Now, by and large, a person who starts developing initially even a slight amount of what we call as a hypoxia, immediately what we call as a compensatory mechanism, you will have a tachypnea, increase in respiratory rate. So warning signs that respiratory failure or decompensation may develop, earliest thing is tachypnea. So any person who starts developing tachypnea, you must pay a watch. The most common universal sign of a respiratory distress in a small children as well as in adult, and this is demonstrating that compensation is going on for some problem, maybe respiratory, maybe extrapulmonary, that is tachypnea. In children, very common, another second common finding is nasal flaring, that is increase in the size of the upper airway, again a very important finding. This nasal cavity, you will have a flaring, and that is another very important finding of early beginning of compensation, that is we call respiratory distress. And in children, because there is a soft bone, you will have a suprasternal retraction, substernal or subcostal retraction, sternum will start collapsing or sternal retraction, and intercostal retraction. So there are four areas: suprasternal notch, this is costal or we call subcostal or substernal, intercostal, and sternal retraction. So basically we call retraction, and it is in a four area, again repeating: suprasternal notch, substernal, sternum, and intercostal. So in relation to the sternum, above the sternum, suprasternal notch, sternum itself, and below the sternum, substernal or subcostal, and by the side of the sternum, intercostal retraction. This is a classical signs only seen in children. We can see intercostal retraction in adult. Maximum, sometime you can see a little amount of suprasternal retraction, but sternal and substernal retraction is not a very common finding. You cannot get a sternal collapsing because sternum is fully calcified. So you can see here nasal flaring, accessory muscle of respiration are working. You can clearly see a sternal retraction here, and you can see a suprasternal retraction. When you throw a light on the suprasternal region, you will be able to see a suprasternal retraction. This is a very characteristic finding. You can see here a intercostal retraction. There is a nasal flaring. There is an accessory muscle of respiration working, and you can see here a clear-cut suprasternal retraction. And this is a characteristic or early finding in person. You can see this particular intercostal retraction, suprasternal retraction, accessory muscle of respiration, and nasal flaring in adult also. But this sternal retraction will be seen only in children. So these are some of the common findings which you can see very clearly in children as well as adult. Grunting sound is peculiar in children. It is an expiratory noise. There is a closure of the glottis, and person is breathing against the closed glottis to provide increased pressure, and that produces a typical sound called as a grunting sound. It is a low pitch sound, and it is deep inside in the throat and very clearly heard. So that is also a very one important finding of respiratory distress. Now, this respiratory distress can easily go into respiratory failure if not diagnosed early and not treated early. Now, as there is a retention of carbon dioxide, this carbon dioxide will have effect on the cerebral cortex and there will be altered mental status. And as the person starts getting this, we'll say that the person is heading towards respiratory failure. Person will have a severe hypoxia and hypercarbia. Oxygen concentration will fall below 50 and CO2 concentration will rise above 45. So, in that particular, now person is making more and more effort. Now, in that making more effort, there will be excessive use of abdominal muscle, more clearly seen again in children as compared to adult. Apart from accessory muscle of respiration, all retractions, tachypnea, etc. There is excessive abdominal muscle use to increase the respiratory effort, and that produces a rocking movements of the chest and abdomen, and that is described as seesaw breathing. Very characteristic. Seesaw breathing. You get an alternate contraction, means contraction of chest and abdomen, showing you like a seesaw, and that is typical in person heading towards respiratory failure. And along with that, the head starts bobbing, which is a very characteristic sign in a person with a respiratory distress heading towards respiratory failure. And this is a late sign. Once you see this particular sign, almost person is heading towards respiratory failure from respiratory distress. So this is because of effort to expand the chest cavity actually results in a head bobbing up and down with each breath, and that is very commonly seen in a children. Head bobbing is a unique to infants who have a severe respiratory distress and impending towards a respiratory failure. So this is a very important clinical clue which will tell you that person seesaw breathing, head bobbing. Very important. And it is when this starts, almost it is heading towards respiratory failure or impending respiratory failure. Along with that, the child starts developing certain other symptoms and findings: tachycardia, hypertension, diaphoresis, anxious look, and there is a gradual increase, progressive increase in the heart rate, and the agitation does not settle down. And all this finding together, plus crying and irritable, difficult to console, these are all the typical finding what we come across, we call stress response. So 5, 6 and 7 category, that is, you've got a head bobbing, you've got a seesaw breathing, head bobbing, and this stress response are all the finding telling you that person is now impending respiratory failure. So do pay attention, and person should be immediately taken to an emergency department and treated. In adult, you can see very clearly cold sweats. You can see the sweating, that is we call diaphoresis. Because of increased CO2, there is a little elevation of intracranial pressure, person will have headache, even hypoxia will super add that. There will be cyanosis, and which will be central cyanosis, lips, tongue, nasal skin, peripheral, nail beds, pulp of the finger, all those will show you cyanosis. And with that, person will also have an altered mental status, maybe anxious or maybe drowsy, and you can see even a flaps. So somnolence in a children is a very dangerous finding in a person with a respiratory distress. This is because of carbon dioxide narcosis, You can easily find out by a pulse oximeter. You can detect the oxygen desaturation. It will usually fall below 50. Person along with somnolence will have a gasping, he will have a stridor, and there is inadequate ventilation. Infant is poorly responding to examination or even IV sticks. And cyanosis is a finding, but it is a very late finding and very late signs of respiratory failure. So once you get cyanosis, it is a bad sign. Means person is already established respiratory failure. So altered mental status, cyanosis, and poor respiratory effort now suggests that person has gone into respiratory failure. You can confirm by pulse oximeter and by ABG. And in an ABG, your PCO2 level will be more than 45. That suggests that person is going towards hypercarbia. So respiratory failure is inadequate oxygenation and ventilation. It is progressing to cardiopulmonary arrest. Now compensatory mechanism, what was taking place before, by increasing the respiratory effort and by increasing the heart rate, etc. Now that is failing and he is going towards cardiopulmonary arrest or respiratory arrest, which will be followed by cardiac arrest, and then finally the death. So do remember this. You can see that this person cannot remain normal without oxygen therapy and support. You can see this also, uncomfortable, and these are all the signs of respiratory failure. Now, how you proceed with the person? With those previous suspicion, always examine the airway, see that the airway is patent. How is the breathing going on, and what is the type of circulation? What is the blood pressure? What are the peripheral pulse? Is there any hypotension? Is there any shock? Is there any tachycardia, or there is a bradycardia? What it is? So we always say examine ABC, and for that look, that is inspection or observation, listen, that is auscultation, and feel, that is palpation. And you should be ready with oxygen and ICU facilities. So this is the preliminary thing which you will start before you go for the full-blown treatment. And you take a very history, we call focus history. That is, when did it start? Did the symptom begin suddenly or gradually? Because acute onset will be all acute condition like pulmonary embolism, tension pneumothorax, acute MI, acute congestive heart failure, severe tachyarrhythmias or severe bradyarrhythmias, those particular conditions. While chronic will be usually chronic congestive heart failure, COPD with acute exacerbation, that way. Has it ever happened before? Past history. Associated symptoms like fever, acute exacerbation of COPD. Past medical history, what drugs he is on, etc. You will immediately examine the blood pressure, look at what is the pulse, whether there is tachycardia or not, because usually tachycardia is a compensatory mechanism. Look at the blood pressure, because invariably there will be a fall of blood pressure, and as the tachycardia increases, there will be slight elevation of a pressure. And look at the SpO2. So less than 50 suggests respiratory failure, but less than 94 is in favor of person is going towards hypoxia. So do keep this thing in mind. Examine the respiratory rate. The earliest finding of respiratory distress is tachypnea. So respiratory rate more than 24, 25, it is suggestive that the person is developing compensation. Then check the lung expansion to find out is lung involved. Observe for lung expansion. This is inspection, this is palpation. This is again inspection. By standing at the foot end, you can compare right with left. And also you can auscultate to find out involvement of the respiratory system. As far as blood test is concerned, ABG, cardiac workup, absolutely necessary. ABG will give you idea regarding a respiratory acidosis or alkalosis and metabolic alkalosis or acidosis. Cardiac workup is to find out the effect of respiratory distress on cardiovascular system, and also cardiovascular system can predispose to respiratory distress like acute MI, acute coronary syndrome, cardiac arrhythmias, cardiac tamponades, etc. So we want to find out those conditions, whether it is because of respiratory system, whether it is because of cardiovascular system, or it is because of other condition like anemia, pyrotoxicosis, those conditions, dehydration. Chest X-ray is absolutely necessary, and you can even go for chest CT. As far as cardiac workup is concerned, ECG, echo, X-ray chest. Those are absolutely necessary. Management wise, basic, that is, first examine, identify what it is, how severe it is, what is the probable cause, and very frequently person will be comfortable in a setting up posture. Give oxygen is a must, because if your pulse oximeter shows that PO2 has fault, then oxygen must be supplemented. But before supplementing the oxygen, ABC should be examined, airway should be patent, that should be first examined, and then you should start with the oxygen therapy. And while giving oxygen therapy, you should pay attention that you do not produce carbon dioxide washout. That should be also taken care. A high flow oxygen may damage in a long term. Then depending upon the etiology, you can use the pharmacotherapy, or it can be supplemented with non-invasive or invasive ventilation. And if a person has already gone in respiratory failure and person is in a respiratory arrest or with cardiac arrest, CPR must be done. So start CPR if the heart stops beating. But if a person has gone in a respiratory failure, CPR is not going to help you. What is helpful is oxygen therapy plus non-invasive or invasive ventilation. A complication of undiagnosed respiratory distress and untreated respiratory distress is respiratory failure. It will very fast end up with respiratory failure. And once the respiratory failure sets in, the mortality rate is high unless it is treated and diagnosed early. And then it can end up with what we call as death. So I end my lecture here. I feel that this particular lecture will be very helpful to you in your everyday practice, more important rather than your theory and oral exams. So if clinically in a children or in an adult you identify respiratory distress by tachypnea, grunting sound, then retraction, more commonly seen in a children than in adult. But in children, sternal retraction is a very important finding in both children as well as adult. Suprasternal retraction, intercostal retraction, subcostal retraction are very, very important findings which you will see in both. And once you start getting stress response in the form of tachycardia, hypertension, or you start getting the respiratory heading towards respiratory failure like cyanosis, diaphoresis, and the person starts having altered mental status, these are a warning sign. You should be able to detect those particular findings as early as possible. And once you detect, it should be treated as an emergency, life-threatening emergency, because person is heading towards respiratory failure, and in a respiratory failure the mortality rate is high. So I end my lecture here. I feel this lecture will be very helpful to you. If you find this lecture is helpful to you, please press button like, and you can subscribe. And if you feel that this will be helpful to your friends and in your circle, you can share with your friends. So at the end of this lecture, I thank you for taking out time. I know that your time is valuable, and I appreciate that you have spent some of the time with me. So see you in next lecture.